They must be migrating.
Migration? What a stupid idea.
Okay, you're impossible.
Because I found a safe place for us to live.
I want us to get out and see the world.
What sort of father would I be if I put my young fowl in harm's way for no reason except a chance at a Caribbean vacation?
I don't want to miss out on life because you're afraid to leave this pond.
What were some of the themes about the story that you co-wrote with Emmy winner Mike White? Yes, this is the same guy who won an Emmy for The White Lotus, and he co-wrote the screenplay with you. So what was that collaboration like? What were the themes that you were looking to break through and explore?
Chris started talking about like very personal things. He told me he wanted to make a love story with ducks, which I felt like was the worst idea ever, you know, like, because they're not the most elegant and passionate creatures. But I understood that it was more like this sort of like relationship you can have with years passing, you know, like after 10 years, how your relationship, 10 or 20 years, how your relationship can sort of like get more and more complicated with years passing, and you want different things, but you still love each other, but you can't make the other one happy. And I felt that was a very strong and serious theme, and I was very into it. And there was a script that I read, and I could find this in the script, so I was very happy to come on board. And the thing with Mike White, to be very honest with you, we started working together, but very quickly he had to go on Survivor for, I mean, that's his thing, you know, like, but, and I expected that he kept telling us, I will be back in 2 weeks, and 2 months after he was actually the finalist of Survivor, so we didn't see him much. And afterwards, you know, like, he had to do The White Lotus, so I couldn't have the chance to work a lot with him. And Chris Melandry's method is very based on, you know, like, redoing, like rewrite and testing new things and trying to find new things. So unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to really have a close collaboration with Mike. But I liked the script, so I was very happy to be based on that.
Sure, sure. What finally informed your approach when it came to the look of Migration, especially with regards to the characters and your head of character animation? Let's talk about that.
I came from 2D, so it was very weird to me to approach 3D in the sense that I didn't know really the process. And one thing I kept telling the people I was working with that in 2D, the feeling that I had was that, you know, I start with a blank page and I just like draw lines, and it's my own way of drawing, you know, like I like to be minimalistic, so I will just like do 6 lines, and as soon as I have what I want to express, you know, I stop and I say it's over. And some call it minimalistic, some can call it lazy as well, but you know, like that's the way I love to draw. And so again, like it's starting from nothing, you add elements until you have what you want to express. And with 3D, it was very weird because when I started, like it took maybe like 2 years before I could see one picture of what the movie could look like.
Yeah.
And you're sort of like, that's it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's it. You know? And I learned that it's more like as you're doing the movie that you sort of adjust everything. And I didn't want to burst in the studio at Illumination and say, we're going to do what I do, and like just force people to do the same style as I did. So we just like, I wanted to learn also from the process and everything. And the process is more like, you know, like you have to define everything very early. Like, for example, the pond, we had to define every little rock, every little leaves, and we have to, you know, like do the modeling of every leaves everywhere. And they showed me that, and I was freaking out at the beginning, just telling them, I can't see anything. There's too much things to watch. Like I can count the leaves in the trees, and I don't want that. So we had to sort of like remove elements with the shadows, with the light, with the defocus, you know, or even like making, I kept showing them like impressionistic painting, just saying them, look at how they managed to, with just one brush stroke, to express there's a tree here. And that's making it very simple, very nice. So that's sort of like the direction I gave them, and then I trusted them like to get there. And that's how we sort of like defined step by step the look of the film.
So let's talk about the casting process. I mean, you have a great cast: Kumail Nanjiani, Elizabeth Banks, Awkwafina, Keegan-Michael Key. How did that casting process come about? Who was like the first to sign on, so to speak, and how did that sort of open up the floodgates?
The first one to come in was Kumail. I think then it was Elizabeth. Of course, we had to find the duo first and then think about the rest. I think afterwards the question was finding the kids, and what happened, like usually happen, I think, but we had 2 kids from the studio, within the studio, like, you know, there were 2 people working on the project, like the editor and another director from the Garth Jennings, and his son was in France and he could speak English, so we had him to do Dax, and we had the daughter of Christian Tracy to do the Gwen. And they just came in and do the voices, which were supposed to be Scratch. Scratch is sort of like 10 voices, and we actually kept them because they were perfect. So that's what usually happened. And yeah, and then, you know, like it was all about like defining the characters and finding what best actor could find. For me, I know I was a little bit, you know, with the voice recording, I was freaking out a little bit because even in France, I was used to have someone with me who talked to the actors. Because I have this problem when I talk to actors is that I'm going to go into this very long explanation of what I want, you know, like, so you have to do this and you have to feel deep within that you have your love for your father, but at the same time you hate him, and you have to express that in this sentence, and the sentence is just what, you know, like, or something like that. So it was quite complex for me to work with actors. And for the first time, they told me you're going to be the one directing them by yourself. And there was, of course, a screenwriter with me to help me. You know, at the beginning, Mike was here to sort of like guide me to.
Oh, great.
And then it was other writers as he left. And but still, it was very, very scary. And even sometimes, I have to be honest, like when they started like speaking way too fast, I couldn't understand what was happening, and they started like laughing, all of them, the whole room was laughing, and that's how I learned to laugh as well. And so, yeah, that's great. But other than this, yeah, it was a pleasure, and I was very, you know, like honored also by the fact that they were, you know, like I'm this French little guy, and they were really professional with me, like trying to really get what I was trying to express and everything, and it was really a great experience.
What time of the year, what year did you actually record the voiceovers?
For 5 years, for the whole production. We recorded like, I would say like every 3 months or something like that, like because we had to change the script regularly. So it actually lasted for 3 or 4 years, I think.
That means you were actually making this movie during the peak,
yeah.
the hardest, most difficult time during like COVID and the pandemic.
Yeah,
so
we had to record actors in their home. You know, we had to bring a little studio in their home so they could sort of like record themselves. And Kumail had this sort of like little plastic shower where he had to go in and he had to do the levels by himself. You know, when he was yelling, we had to, are you sure you're good in terms of picking? So that was quite complicated. But yeah, I mean, we managed to do it, so that's really great.
When it comes to animated movies, sometimes people don't really think enough, you know, outside people not making the movie don't think like, oh, there's a cinematographer, you have a production designer. So how did your collaboration with them help you direct and help define the various looks of Migration?
Well, it was, I think the biggest challenge was to find how do you perceive the world through the eyes of ducks, you know, like, for example, New York, we really worked on it, like, even the way they arrive in New York, we felt, okay, we need to make sure they're surprised by discovering the city, and so we decided to sort of, like, hide it in the fog and make it a scene when they arrive that's more feeling like, you know, like Ulysse in the Odysseus, you know, like on the ocean with fog everywhere and there's big giant rocks next to him and you don't know what it is. It could be an island as much as it could be like a monstrous like sea monster that, you know, it's really a movie about like getting out of your comfort zone and being rewarded for that.
You actually did research and prep. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we had a duck at the studio who came one day. Like it was really weird. Like the duck came and he was in a little box and there was like maybe 50 to 60 people, like just because we were working in a parking lot. I mean, not in the parking lot, but you know, like it's a parking lot that's been like rebuilt to, and there's part that's still a parking lot. So we're all like 50 people, and the guy opened the box, and the duck stepped out, and no one was talking. We were just watching the duck, you know, like doing his things. It was not much, but he was just walking and looking at us, and I don't know. It must have felt for him like what a human must feel when he's abducted by aliens, you know, like people are just writing down things with him, like moving, and he just, there was a little, you know, like pot of water, he just went in and washed and watching us, and that's it. So that was interesting, but he was not armed, everything was good, you know, like he was but yeah, we did a lot of studies, of course, videos also. We watch a lot of videos, and the good thing with mallards is that they're literally everywhere, so it's very easy to to go, like do documentation, and it gives you like permission to go on a walk to just see, I'm going to work and watch ducks, and that's all you're doing. So that was and also learning about their habits and everything. It was very interesting.
Prior to this movie, everything I knew about ducks I learned from watching Friends.
Yeah.
The chick and the duck.
Yeah.
But yes, I definitely my education was expanded in a big way. Also, this last question is, you talk about breaking out of your comfort zone and the rewards that come from that. Also, the risks that come from that too. And I mean, look, and I grew up in Philly, in New York, and I moved out here 30 years ago. And the reward is I've been very, very happy in LA. But what do you hope people take, other than being very entertained with great music and beautiful animation and funny, a lot of humor? What are some of the themes that you hope people take away from Migration?
Well, I guess it's mostly this idea of, like, again, what I just shared with you, with this idea of, okay, you step out and maybe you will be rewarded and maybe you won't, but that's definitely the only way you can sort of evolve. And I know I have this problem of, like, staying home and running in circle because it's comfortable, because you're the king of your little home and everything, and yeah, it's worth it. It's going to be hard, but it's definitely worth it, and it's how you're going to live things, and that's what we wanted to share with this movie. So that's the idea that we had, making it. I don't know if we succeeded, but at least we tried our best, like to get to this feeling. So that was our main sort of like goal for making this movie. Yeah.
Well, I think you succeeded. Do you think you succeeded? Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, just please spread the word that Migration opens in U.S. theaters on December 22nd. Benjamin Renner, thank you so much for the conversation. Thank you, everyone, for being here at the Academy. Thank you so much.